Welcome back. Hello.
What's up? What's up? Oh, I love that blouse.
Hey,
I love that blouse you got going on there, girl. Nice little for parents. Make me feel like I'm in Florida somewhere vacationing.
I
I'm
know.
doing the wild girl. Look at this song looking all glowing and hair all slicked and beautiful and curled up,
Yeah,
looking
you
all
know how you
good
do.
there.
Welcome back, everybody. We are back.
Welcome back. Yes.
Yes.
Grace and
So
mercy. Thank you for another show.
so today is I'm sorry, this month is the month of June, and it just happens to be Black American Music Appreciation Month. Yes,
Ooh, yes.
yes. And you know, I just love us. And
Yes.
I would like to just, take a minute, give a shout out to Michael Jackson. He is the greatest of
Yes.
all
MJ.
time.
He was.
I
Yes,
don't think
Rest in peace. The
there's
greatest of all
anybody on
time.
this earth that doesn't know who MJ is. So we don't really have to sing his praises, but we can. But I think my favorite song from him of all time was Thriller. I
yes. I was gonna
let
say
me tell
that.
y'all something. Mm,
Thriller, yeah,
he just
Thriller was
had that
definitely
whole
epic.
thing going.
Do the whole
Thriller,
dance. I remember that whole
thriller,
dance.
right, hey. Then
Yeah.
what else was there? What else was there? Come on, y'all, help me out. Come on, what was there?
Oh my
Billie
God.
Jean, maybe Billie
Oh yeah,
Jean.
Billie
Billie
Jean. I
Billie,
Jean.
forgot.
Billie
Yeah.
Jean. He broke musical barriers,
Yes, he did.
um, like none other, right? I mean, that whole video concept with Thriller just took videos to a whole nother
Yeah.
level.
He did.
Had
Yeah,
us
'cause he
doing
was doing movies for videos and spending his own money out of his own pocket.
exactly,
You know what I
Yes, he
mean?
was.
First person to make
exactly.
$1 million movie out of pocket for the
Yes,
purposes of getting his message and his
many
words, his
movies.
music out. So
Yeah,
big
because
up to Mike.
he revolutionized videos because his videos told a story. Other videos was just the music but he came out with Thriller and all. He was like,
Yeah, he made people step their game up musically and video wise because I was even the R&B scene was getting kind of lame. Alternative music videos were more creative and more
They
you
were.
know out there than we were doing. And then Mike was like, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of it. So big up to Mike, greatest of all time, and yeah, let's
okay.
definitely continue to remember him through his music, through his messages, which will also apply into the. You got anything for us on Mike today? You always treat us with some kind of
I
musical.
know, I know. I was having difficulties, so I couldn't cue it. So maybe I could find something towards
Oh
the end of the show. But right now, wait a minute, let me find out.
yeah, we got to get we.
He did it.
We got to do it right for Mike. You know what I mean? We can't. We go. And by the way, the music we are not.
We don't own the rights to this
We don't
music.
own the rights to this music or any of that kind of stuff. So big up to Mike. We just want to give a little tribute for those that love Mike as much as we do. Here we go, baby. If it gives it to us without the actual, we ain't doing no YouTube ads and nothing like that. You know. Oh wow, they played us. They got them double entendre. Yeah. Let's take it back a little bit, y'all.
Gonna make
Hold
the
up.
bridge for once in my life.
Ooh, yes.
Gonna feel real good.
Gotta make a difference.
Gonna make it right. As I turned up the collarbone, my favorite winter coat. This wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street,
Not enough to eat.
when I feel like pretending not to see their need.
What?
Stars disregard a broken bottle top and one and so they follow each other on the window, cause they gotta know where to go. That's why no one got to
So
And then make a
You gotta know Michael's words.
gotta know it.
I'm messing it all up, right?
Yeah,
Look,
leave it.
that's the second thing I done messed up today.
But anyway, that's a very fitting song, being that we are going to definitely be having a men's panel today. So I'm so excited about that. For
That's
you all
right.
to
That's right.
examine things from a man's perspective.
And the song played in perfectly because I'm starting with the man in the mirror. So what y'all got? What y'all
Yeah, we got that mirror bouncing back at us. You know what I mean. So today's show is going to be about who created us and what allowed us, who made us a man, and how do we see manhood and that what is fatherhood and manhood and all the things that we are. And we have a couple of guests that um, I'll let you ladies introduce this evening. We have Craig Palmer. Welcome, Craig.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's definitely a pleasure joining an esteemed panel like you guys. I appreciate it.
Okay.
So,
And
Craig,
we
tell
are,
us a little bit about yourself before we get to our next guest.
Well, by trade, I'm a recruiter, so I help people get employment. But I'm also a published author. You'll see my books kind of behind me. I've written probably about 4 or 5 books that pertain to career development. So I do workshops around the country that help young people and adults transition into employment and entrepreneurship.
Well, we're so glad to have you.
pleasure to have you, bro.
Thank you, thank you. And lastly, I'm a father of 3.
That's not lastly.
Yes.
Right. And
We
next
were
up,
glad to have you here. Thank you again.
Thank you, thank you.
We're honored.
and we have another awesome guest today with us, the one and only T Cozy.
Yes.
What's going on, D?
Good evening, everybody. Good
Hey,
evening. How are you?
Welcome.
Mr. Cozy, I'm so sorry. I was messing up your name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
We got to figure it out, right?
Okay, yes, please forgive me.
It's all
So
right.
tell
Welcome.
me,
Tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Well, I'm pleased to be here, and I appreciate the invite. Native Washingtonian, so I'm from D.C. Grew up in D.C. I am father of 2, a boy and a girl.
Oh,
I am too, like Mr. Palmer. I'm a published author of a book called Blindfolded. And actually, in the process is getting a children's book illustrated right now. I was just talking to my illustrator. I'm a wellness coach. I consult with organizations around Black male development, young Black male development. And my day job and my heart job is I'm a director of culture at an all-male public high school in Washington, D.C., Ron Brown College Prep. It's hard work for sure. Shout out to the care team and my guys at the school.
okay.
awesome. That's
Thank
pretty
you. Thank
dope.
you.
Love
I'm
to see
excited to hear about the children's book. I know you were going to talk more about the male things a little later, but I'm aspiring to do children's books as well. So maybe one day you could tell me how you get that all rolled out.
Yeah, let's talk. No problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. But as the show is titled, this is about the men. So, as much as we love looking at you, lovely, lovely ladies, I'm sorry, we may have to boot you from the show tonight. So, let's make it really, really just let's chop it up one on one, deep dive into who we are and what made us who we are and how do we see ourselves. But it's always a pleasure having you ladies host. And but it's the big takeover tonight, baby. So peace. Mwah. Love ya.
See you after
And
the show. We'll see y'all
that's
after
Have
the
a great
show.
show.
thank you, thank you,
Have a good show.
thank you, thank you. All right, and hold on. Got one more people in time. All right, cool. All right. Let's get the view right here where There, there we go. There we go. All right, what's going on, fellas?
What's
It's
going
just
on?
It's all good.
that's right. You know what I mean? Like, it's the first time for me being able to be on the show and actually, I guess, be transparent to the public. I'm usually a very, very private person. Even though when I guess expose myself as deliberately as intentional is always for educational purposes because I think the
Mhm.
things that we go through individually can help another person when we expose ourselves and give our testimony to the good, the bad, the ugly, and the uglier. So as men, we always try to keep it real, squeaky clean. Like, yeah, I got this tight, got this wrapped up. I can handle mines, but we never really expose when we can't handle life or things are too much because either our pride, our egos, or just the way we were raised. And but before I get into me, I like to know about you, gentlemen, and what made you guys the men that you are today? What were your influences, and who were impactful into the people that you see yourselves as today? And I'll start off with Craig. Tell me about who impacted your life, good and bad, whether it was male or female, and did you have your dad in your life and so forth?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of background. I was born and raised in Harlem,
Okay.
and when I was coming up in Harlem as a young person, a lot of the influences that we saw around us were, the whole crack academic, um, e- epidemic at the time. But the person that probably impacted me most, from a male perspective, was my father. Now, I don't reveal this to everyone, but at the time, my father was a drug dealer.
Okay.
So you would think that because I was exposed to a lot of negative things, and witness drugs and all that kind of stuff, that I might lean in that direction.
Right.
But I actually leaned in the complete opposite direction. Like, I've never
Mm.
used drugs. I'm not a big drinker. I've never had a shot, right? I don't drink beer, nothing like that.
Okay.
So I learned early on that education was really paramount to success. So,
Very
so
cool.
I just really kind of dedicated myself, and went to school, got a degree in business, and then I realized that um, English was always kind of my best subject in school, from reading tons of comic books and stuff like that.
Right.
So I
Right.
went on to write books, from a male perspective, in terms of, if I was a young person, what would I want to know about employment? So when I wrote
Mm.
my book, I wrote 10 components to employment. And so that way, any question you might have involved in employment, I feel like I cover everything. Like, if you have any questions about, what you should do, or, what jobs pay well, where you should work, all that kind of stuff,
Mm.
I cover everything. Right. But
That's
going back
pretty
to my
dope.
father, even though I didn't live in a household with my father, I saw him like almost every day.
Okay.
Right. And me and him would have very candid conversations about life. Like, he was in the army, he was actually in the Marines, and he was dishonorably discharged, right? Because he hit a white officer who was racist. Because back
Mm.
then in the army, you could be racist. You know what I mean? You could say
Right.
negative things to, people of color, and they just had to kind of take it, you
Mhm.
know. And so he hated the N word with a passion. So when that officer called him an N word, he struck him, and he had to go to the arcade, and then he was dishonorably discharged. So because of that reason, he had an enormous hatred for white people, right?
Mm.
And he would talk about a lot of his stories, that things that happened in the army, and things that kind of led him up to being in the drug game, right?
Right.
And so the one thing that I took away from him, there was two things. The first thing was, even though he was a drug dealer, he was the nicest drug dealer you've ever met. Like, he gave drugs away for free, right? And I'd be like, how you a drug dealer and you giving away drugs for free?
Right, yeah, it's like it's an oxymoron. It's about making money,
Yeah.
baby.
He would give guys on the street like, money that was struggling, homeless people. He was just like, even people that knew him said, yo, your father was the nicest guy you would ever meet.
That's pretty
Right?
dope.
Like, he didn't fit the mold of a drug dealer.
Right.
Right. And then the other thing was he was a hustler. Like he was always hustling, whether it was selling t-shirts, selling drugs, unfortunately. He was always out there hustling. And so that's what I picked up from him, that drive to always have another hustle, so that's why I design websites as well. I've been a real estate agent, an insurance salesman, a notary, a process server, a limousine driver. Like I've done everything. So that's why I'm able to talk to a lot of young people from a perspective of not only being a worker, but also being someone that has his own business. Because I've always believed that it's not about working harder; it's about working smarter.
You better
And
believe
our
it.
counterparts, Caucasians, they're out there making money, in so many different ways
Mhm.
that we as Black people have to kind of incorporate. And
Yes.
so, from being a parent, I want to make certain that I put my sons in a great position to be successful, right?
Mhm.
And I think that from any Black person, you want to kind of, make certain that obviously your children get the best education humanly possible, right?
Exactly.
But
Yes.
also have them understand things like credit, have them understand things like savings, have them understand the stock market, have them, have another hustle. Like my sons are learning an instrument, right? I have two sons, a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. My 12-year-old is learning how to play the guitar, and my 9-year-old is playing the piano, right?
Oh, that's dope.
And the reason why I did that is because I always want them to have another way to generate income, right? So, of course, they'll go on to, learn other things, but they'll always have another way that if they want to sit down and say, you know what, I need to make a couple of dollars this weekend, let me go play the guitar at a church or a club or whatever.
Right.
If I need to make some money, let me go play the piano at, at a wedding or something like that. So they
Yeah.
always have another way to generate income. And that's what we have to do. We have to put our children in a way where they always have another way to generate income. They have to have at least 2, 3, 4 ways to generate an income.
That's wow. That's well, for one, I applaud you, and you're absolutely correct. I think just as a people, as a culture, somehow or another, even watching our counterparts maneuver through life and be handed certain privileges versus what we are striving to even just to level out with. You know what I mean? We always have to work harder, be smarter, or do extra additional things. We always look back, quote unquote. It was the stigma of the Jamaican. How many jobs you have, man?
Right.
The carpenters, man, the maintenance, man. Multiple jobs. You know what I mean? And then look before you. I guess some people didn't understand that, but when it came to actually surviving the financial climate, just even providing for your family. Now, I wanted to ask you now, do you think your dad was doing that because he had to, because he was trying to make sure that you guys had a roof over your heads, and even if your mom or you didn't understand it, he already knew what the world, what odds you were working against, and was like, you know what, I'm going to make my own lane by any means necessary. I'm gonna make sure my kids and my family is not held down by whatever surrounding me. Do you think it was that, or was it just a personal
Well,
thing?
I actually had as I got older, I lived with him for a brief time when I was in high school. And
Okay.
so we talked about it. And it initially started because when they were in Vietnam, a lot of the soldiers in Vietnam were on drugs, right?
Right.
They had opium and all kind of stuff.
Yep.
If you ever seen the movie American Gangster, you'll
Exactly.
see
That's
that
very
kind of happen in the film.
exactly.
And that was true. That really happened, right? And then what happened was when he came back to the States, he was still hooked on drugs, right? And so then what he ended up doing was, okay, he had to use drugs, but then he realized there are a whole bunch of other people using it. Let me
And
sell
you
it
can
to
use
the
drugs
people
as
that are
well,
using it,
right?
right? And he was a very successful drug dealer. Like he owned a couple of buildings in Harlem. He had a nightclub. I mean, a grocery store. You know what I mean? Like he had a lot of property and stuff, but he didn't know how to manage it. He didn't pay no taxes on it or nothing like that. So
Right.
ultimately, he ended up losing all of that stuff, right?
Wow.
So he always justified it, saying I'm doing this to support my family. But I mean, he also used it as well,
Right.
So I mean,
So
um,
DC, what's your thoughts? You know what I mean? Chime in on it. So let's know your story. Who influenced your life and how you got to be the king that you are today.
Man. So first of all, Mr. Palmer, man, I think that's an amazing story, bro.
It is right.
Shout out to you. And shout out to your pops, bro.
Yeah, for
I
real.
think I think it's so easy for us to hear story or to see without knowing stories in the judge folk or the condemn people. But I think every story, especially every Black person's story, is so dynamic and it's so much more. And so just shout out to your dad for the moves he made and had to make to ensure that.
For real. Cause yeah, like for real, for them, salute out.
Yeah. Shout out to you, bro. My story is not as it's not as it's, it's a little less colorful than that, but nonetheless, I think one of the things I've learned about just manhood in general, as I exist in my own masculinity, is that the man that I am today took a lot of hands, right, and a lot
of course,
and I am the result of a lot of people's investments and a lot of people's love, a lot of people's discipline. And those people include like literally everyone who my parents allowed to have access to me. So my family, you know, I'm not like super old school, but I'm older than like this new school. So like the teachers who were like really like your aunties and your mamas at school. So all of these people literally had a hand in. I can point to the things I do or think now, the skills that I have now, and be able to point back to people who helped to hone those skills, who helped to push me to think that way. And it really is literally my life is the statement. It takes a village. It really, I saw a village. My mom and my father lived village and lived community. And so I am the result of community, honestly. Particularly though, Father's Day is in a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks to come out. And I would be remiss not to name my father, William Brockenbury Jr., as the number one man who had the greatest impact on the life and that I live now, right? Like literally from the way I think, from the way I show up for my family, the way I embody family, and just just the way I hustle. To your point, right? Dad was a hustler. Dad just not having wasn't a thing, right? It just wasn't. He found a way always, and he was just he always had 30 jobs, and somehow was always at every event that we had. He got six of us, so he was always at everything. He was a coach, which made him a father to other people, but still father to me. I didn't miss out on anything, even though he gave himself to so many others and so many. And I see that I show up today, kind of like in the same vein, right? I always say my father passed a few years ago, 2010. I literally get to live. I get to live in his legacy every day. In the way that I love and the way that I try to just be and exist in community with others. And so, he continues to live, but he truly has had the greatest impact on my life. He's the greatest man I've ever known, and he has that greatest impact on my life as it stands today.
Wow, let's give it up for your dad. You know what I mean? Like for real. You know what I mean? Every man that is present. You know what I mean? No matter what his story is, he was there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that in itself says a lot. Like so, for real. It's kind of interesting. So it's my mind now. Just hearing both of you guys' story has my mind twisted because I never knew my dad.
Oh,
I don't even know what he looked like. I don't know what he could look like. I never heard his voice. If he was around, it was too young for me to know. And anything that I did learn about my dad was, from a one-sided perspective, which is 9 times out of 10 going to be a negative one. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. Um, but that's kind of interesting listening to you guys' perspective because is for me, I would say. Well, I'm 50 years old right now, right? And growing up without any kind of male figure, and I've had my older brother, may he rest in peace. He was 5 years older than me, so he was a role model, but he wasn't my dad. You know what I mean? So every man needs some kind of guidance, someone to look up and say, you know what, I fear this individual because you gotta put some fear in us to get us straight on the narrow path. So it's interesting to hear men of your caliber and see the things that you're doing with their lives with the guidance of that because I've always wondered for myself what now I'm proud of myself. Let's just start there. I'm totally impressed and proud of myself, and I thank God for bringing me out of the things that I put myself into. I ran the streets. I was raised by my mom. There was five of us, four boys and one girl, baby girl. So we were crazy growing up in New York. I did everything under the sun to destroy myself. I'm gonna be totally honest. I tried and it was experimental with everything because I was curious about life and figuring out who I was and what my boundaries are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We need to know our boundaries because coming up, you feeling your oats and you think you can take on the world, every aspect of it. You know what I mean? So, um, I relate to your story, Craig and DC, just because um I tried to be both. You know what I mean? Like for instance, I'm a dad of one. I have a son, and me having being void of a dad in my life, um, the same way that you were the total opposite of what you saw around you. You know what I mean? You went totally level. Like this is what I don't want to be. This is
right,
what I don't want to do, and this is you know what I mean. I'm gonna create my own identity for myself and define myself by that and morals and standards and principles based on wherever you pull those from, which were clearly reliable sources enough for you to have a tangible evidence on. I can get results with my life through education.
right,
You know what I mean? So even when I knew education was the way out, I chose the streets because it was what attracted the females.
right,
You know what I mean? I wanted the money, I wanted the cars, I wanted the women, I wanted the fast life, I wanted all the different things that would give me immediate gratification to fill a void of my own identity crisis, learning who I was and who I wasn't. What I wasn't was a good drug dealer. So I learned that fast. You know what I mean? And by God's grace and mercy, continue putting myself in just precarious situations that I didn't belong to. My mom's had an amazing job working for the city of New York, literally, right? I didn't have to run the streets, but it's just that curiosity of her not being around to keep me in check. I got no male guidance to say, you know what, I will punch you in your face if you even think about this. You know what I mean? Now, granted, I grew up getting my behind tore up
Mm-hmm.
in the name of discipline.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which made me an angry ass little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really, really, really made me like angry. So it's kind of interesting that we got Passion chiming in. I don't know if she's intending that. Is that an intentional chime in? But as I was saying, with with that space, even to this day, I'm raising my son off the sheer trust and belief of God's word and positive black men that I say, you know what, I can model myself after this and this aspect of um developing a young man that I never knew how to even be myself. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that you know the way he saw me was in a light that was not like I saw other men. You know what I mean? The
Right.
men that I grew up with was the examples of like what your dad was. I saw those men everywhere. You know what I mean? Or hanging out, running. I ran numbers until I was probably about 15. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I was the store runner, and so I was always in the streets handling money. So once it came to money, it was like this is nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my makeup. But in the same token of where my son is now, I look at his life and I be looking at him like, yo, you bougie as I don't know what, because as much as I deliberately protected you, like you have no clue
Right.
of the world that lies on around you and what I had to come through to just to make you who you are today. You know what I mean? And it's intentional that I don't want you to go through the things that I want to, but still, I want you to have that grit about you. So somebody
Mm.
roll up with you, you know what to do. You know what I
Right.
mean? I don't want you being no bookworm. So he's the best of both worlds. You know what I mean? But still, in all, between me and his mom, I will say he's a little bougie. His taste is way bigger than mine. His
Mm.
budget is way bigger than mine. But he's able to make his own money. So I can't knock him. You know what I
Right.
mean? I raised him to be a strong, outspoken individual because I always wanted him to make sure that he knew he had a voice, even in the
How
household.
old is he?
Parents. He's now 27.
Oh, okay. He
And
grown man.
like counting like the kid, like he's me times 10, and
Uh-huh.
the best parts of me. So I was like, it's amazing how with some real guidance and attention and love and God's, I don't know if you guys are, where you are spiritually, but me, I'm born again Christian. I was a heathen, literally. You know what I mean? Like I
Hmm.
tried everything my way until I tried something different. And you know
Right.
what I mean? And it gave me clarity on the power that I possess as a black man. And even through that, I had to learn as a black man. All right, well, what about everything else was being? I grew up in a household where there were 5%ers.
Hmm.
So I was already growing up with the combat of your black awareness, the black word versus what the Caucasian man is teaching you and all
Right.
that stuff. So I learned from so many perspectives that I grew up so fast that it allowed me to create an identity for myself and say, you know
Hmm.
what, you need to be a responsible individual that the world can look to and say, you know what, I like how he's maneuvering. He's not shiesty. He's not out to beat nobody. He's not harming the world. He's about his money. He's about his family, and he handled his business. You know what I mean? And to this day, I fight in my own business. I'm a weapons. I've done. I'm a jack of all trades, master of most, is what I call myself. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I probably got about 7 different companies, from real estate to web design to multimedia marketing to a music studio. Just I've tried everything to find who I was,
Hmm.
and throughout those journeys, I've identified a lot about myself, and I thank God for the opportunity to not be locked up and robbed of the opportunity despite my shortcomings.
Hmm.
You know what I mean, because my story is crazy, like, and it's the most of my crazy story is stuff that I put myself into. So it's interesting to see two the both of your perspectives and upbringings. And on top of that, for me, I grew up around the majority of women, strong black women.
Yeah.
So I know what that power feels like. You know what I mean? Women can control the world because they've been deemed with the responsibility of it when men fell short. You know what I mean?
Right.
While our
I
fathers
mean,
are out doing what the hell they wanted to do and not thinking about family or any of the things that mattered the most, and the kids that they left behind or created, and they had families everywhere.
right.
You know what I mean? So our stigmas and our stories of the what stays in the families, what goes on in the family stays in the family, plagued us for decades and generations on top of that.
Right.
Because everybody was hush hush. You don't tell what's going on inside this house because that's just not how we roll. But now in this new millennium, everything's out there, and you know what I mean. Everybody's all in your business. You know what I mean. You ain't got no business unless you broadcasting it. You know,
Right.
which I'm totally against unless I'm marketing. Like I said, I'm very private. This is probably the most that anybody has gotten out of me in the last 20 years because I just kept it. Just I got this,
But
and
you
I
know what? It's I
Go
mean,
ahead.
it's good that you're sharing your story because you know what? There are gonna be folks that can relate to your story. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I work with a lot of. I used to work for this organization called the Osborne Association. I don't know if you ever heard of it. And all they do is they work with ex-offenders, right?
Okay.
And you know, when I worked with a lot of the ex-offenders, I also used to work for the shelter that was connected to Bellevue Hospital, right?
Okay.
And you know, a lot of brothers were in a situation kind of like what you mentioned. They didn't grow up with fathers, and a lot of them were very angry, right?
Right.
Like you don't realize how not having a male influence impacts on people's lives, right?
Really.
Because
Exactly.
what ends up, unfortunately, a lot of young black males, what they end up doing is gravitating to the streets because you
Hmm.
know your brothers in the street become your family, right?
Yes, sir.
And I was fortunate enough, and it's funny because I still am very close with a lot of the friends I grew up with, and we have candid conversations. We were fortunate enough that we had the friends that I had growing up weren't about hustling. They weren't about selling drugs. They weren't about sticking up people. They weren't about doing mischief and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But that's not always the case. There are a lot of young black males that get involved with gangs, right? Like they get involved with guys that are out there, hustling and stuff like that. And then ultimately it becomes a pitfall for them because then they obviously go to jail, right? They ruin their record, right? And then
Right.
they always climb and they always climb and trying to climb out, right?
Mhm.
Because you already have a record, so now there's certain jobs you can't have, right?
Yep.
Now you're struggling because you have to take jobs that half of the times are not making a livable income, right?
Exactly.
So, it becomes a vicious cycle. So that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about helping young people because they need to know, like, listen, college is not for everyone, but you know what? You need it. And what I
Hmm.
tell my, young people is, even though you might not love college, right? And even though when you was high school, you might have gotten C's, right? It don't make a difference if you got a C or an A, because guess what? To an employer, most employers, that C looks like an A. So I tell every young person, yo, go to college. If nothing else, get that basic, get that foundation. And if you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business, by all means do so. But at least get that foundation underneath you.
Definitely. Definitely. Like the only thing that got me on the straight and now, wild enough, was my mom's giving me a alternative. Was either you're gonna be in the streets or you better go to school. I had to go to Job Corps.
Uh-huh.
So like I didn't big shout out to Job Corps. I don't
Right.
know anybody, like I don't know anywhere else in the world where you can get paid to learn and you can live there because you ain't got no place else to go.
Mhm.
So that was literally my story, and I was like, wait a minute, you're gonna pay me to get my degree every week? Hmm.
Mhm.
Let me try this Job Corps thing out. You know what I mean? Oh, this girl's here, this fellas, like the streets was there. I mean, dudes coming straight off the streets
Mhm.
was in Job Corps. Still hustling in the streets was in Job Corps. So
You
you
know,
literally, you know what I mean? But it was like the place where you would literally decide, all right, let me get my stuff together, or I'm gonna be. It was the final place to go as
yeah,
far as the stigma was. You know what I mean? But
yeah,
I gratefully, graciously, I was able to be exposed to acting and stuff like that in some theater programs and started
Mhm.
doing some touring and acting, and that just changed the whole trajectory of my life because I really don't know where I would be, to be honest. Like
Right.
literally, because of that start right there, I now am a several time business owner. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Made over $1 million in my lifetime, and continually making multiple millions and striving for more. You know what I mean? So I just want to say that, yeah, because of education, it's like you literally got to say, you know what? Even the streets, what you learn in the streets, and what my homies is teaching me and whatnot. There's an educational foundation that isn't taught in the streets that you have to get your book smarts
yeah.
on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think one of the things, Bell Hooks has this really amazing quote um, in one of her books, and the quote says something to the effect of "Black men who resist categorization are rare," and she goes on to say that the price of visibility, the cost of visibility in a world essentially that's run by white supremacy, is that you must identify yourself in relation to the stereotype. So to the white stereotype of what blackness is. And I think because we're talking about this hustle culture that runs rampant in our communities, right? It has run rampant in our communities. And I say rampant not to make it an issue, well, not to be judgmental, but I think ultimately what it is that we have a desire. Everybody has a desire to be seen, right? Visible. I tell my young people all this all the time. There's no problem. Maybe not. I don't want my name in the marquees being seen, but everyone wants to know that they matter, right? And for so long, what has been the "you matter" in American society and white American society is just you got money, right? So see a lot of black boys run to streets instead of education, run to streets instead of school, because I see it all the time. This hustle culture because I need to have money. And ultimately that money makes me matter. And what's at the core of everybody's existence, I want to be visible. I want people to see me. I want to matter, right? I want to matter. And so, and this is why I'm kind of like, even in my adulthood, like changing the way I even consider how I think about folks who out here dealing drugs or whatever. It's like ultimately at the core, they just want to matter. They want to be seen. And what they've been told through indirect and direct education, right, is that in order to matter, you must have money. And I think what has to happen in our community is that we've got to convince people that they matter beyond their means. You got to matter because you're here. You got to matter because you're beautiful. You got to matter because you exist. You got to matter because your name is your name. You know what I'm saying? We've got to convince our young men, our young women that money is cool. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not against money. Okay. More money for black folk always. That's not right. But money is how you matter, right? And you have to matter beyond what you hold in your hand. You got to matter beyond. You matter because of what you hold in your existence. And I think if we can create communities that empower one another to know that like you matter simply because you're here, simply because you exist, and I love you simply because you're here, not for what resource you bring or what thing you bring. Like what do you bring to the table? Bro, I bring me. I'm me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the different thing. I think if we can create communities of love and of just visibility where people know their value and they matter simply because they matter, we help to like literally change people's well-being, change people's outcomes. I don't know what happens to the young boys who I do know what happens to the young boys who have to make people know they matter, right? Like that that road usually doesn't end well for them, right? They've got to end up their risk. It's a risky game, and my homie says it all the time. You play street games, you're gonna win street prizes. You know what I'm saying? But I would rather us be able to see black boys, especially, flourish without having to put at risk their livelihood. And if we can create, like again, these communities where you matter beyond this, then I think it opens the door to so much more of what black men can be if we just, allow them to know like what they can be for real.
Right. I totally agree with that. Yes.
Because I do workshops in the high school. And one of the things that I do when I talk to young black men, I have to dispel that myth. See, because like what you're saying is exactly right. A lot of young black men have this myth that they can all be athletes, they can all be rappers, right? And so we have to start showing young black men other images, right? Like we have to show them lawyers, we have to show them doctors, we have to show them weathermen and teachers, right? So that's why Cozy, I got to give you a pat on the back for being, in the educational system because you're impacting young black men in a way that you might not even realize because they see you And when they see you, they now see themselves. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? They see that, you know what? It's all right to be, it's cool to be a teacher. You know
Yes.
what I mean? It's cool to be an administrator.
Mhm.
It's cool. It's okay to not be a drug dealer. It's okay to not be the next Kobe Bryant. It's okay not to be the next Lil Wayne, right? Like
Hmm.
they have to see these other images, right? And they have to see us not from an angry perspective, where, like in the movie Menace to Society, like Old Dog, you know what I mean? Where he's like, man, I don't care. I'll kill anybody. Like they have to see other stuff, so that way they understand there's another way, to be successful as opposed to, what they see the fast money. They
Right.
see, Jay-Z, I want to be the next Jay-Z. Listen, you know what? They got executives. Ken Kercheval, the former head of American Express, a black man, he made $49 million a year, right? That's good money,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And I mean, he ain't no rapper. So I mean, there
Right.
are other ways to be successful without just thinking the only way we can do it is make it to the NFL or the NBA or sing or being on American Idol. There's other ways. So we have
Especially
to
in
show
this new, you're absolutely right. Especially in this new era that we're in right now, which is the digital takeover. If
them.
you know what I mean, you gotta be doing something digitally. So I think that with the internet and everything that has changed with that, more millionaires have been created than ever before.
Right.
There are a lot of black millionaires that we don't even know about. You know what I mean? Like literally, people that are doing just staying in their lane and getting their money and their paper without the notoriety and without all of the accolades and all this other different stuff. And they just getting their digital monies while they sleep. You know what I mean?
Right.
Selling little, software services. And I own a
Absolutely.
digital company and I'm like, I'd be surprised by the money that I make. And, but meanwhile, while I'm doing this, right, I'm doing crazy dope stuff on this end, but there's a part of me that's still seeking, oh, nobody knows about it. I need their attention
Hmm.
because of the lack of guidance, the lack of saying, I'm constantly disciplining myself every day. I'm rebuilding myself and all the things that Cozy is talking about, reaffirming myself and letting me know that I matter. Because I got nobody telling me. I'm 50 years old, guys, and I constantly am reaffirming who I am to just be able to structure my business in a solid platform that can compete against white America,
Yeah.
still compete in just the marketing America because technology, if you ain't using the technology that's available to you, then you're archaic. You know what I mean? So you got to be up to date with everything that's going on. The young cats knowing what the older people are doing and being able to be a bridge between the two. Because other than that, you're gonna be battling. Oh, I'm trying to please the young folk, but meanwhile I'm losing my adult peers, or I don't even have any adult peers because I'm too busy hanging out with the young boys,
Right.
or I'm hanging out with the adult crowd too much to where I don't even understand how to relate to my kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's about like I had it was the weirdest argument I ever had with my son over music, and I was telling him about TLC. Now I say TLC to y'all, and they're just like, oh, TLC. He says to me, who is TLC? I was like, what? My mind was blown. And I was only referencing them because of the chorus of what the music has become, the message of the chorus in the music today. Now, of course, it's get that paper, 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 get that paper. You ain't get that paper, get that paper, get some more paper, get that paper, get that paper. And that's your chorus, and everybody rocking out. Cool, cool, cool. You know what I mean? I'm from the 70s, baby. I want to hear the full message. In the chorus, I want to
Yeah.
hear the first, second, and third verse,
Yeah.
maybe the bridge. If you
Yeah.
got an extended LP version, throw that bad boy on
Come
too.
on. Come on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we in this microwave era right now, and I'm not really, really feeling it. But it's like, you know, if I'm kicking back too much, I'm the old dude. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm OG, but trust and believe you're losing something in this microwave. Got to get it right now mentality. Even when it comes to money, or even the mentality of self gratification, and I say that because even in all the success that I've achieved throughout the years, I've won an Emmy Award.
Mhm.
I've owned multiple homes.
Mhm.
I've I've done a lot. I've toured the world. I've experienced a lot of the beauty and the bad of life. And to me, the most simplest thing, the most beautiful part about life is family. You know what I mean? When it's all said and done, when the money go away, when the lights dim down, it really comes back to family, even if it's one that you created for yourself. So, you know, when we talk about the individuals that cling to that gang, the street life, the gang life, or whatever it is, because it's about family. They're missing that guidance in
Right.
their life of someone that they can admire or that they do admire that's doing bigger and better than what they're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Something to aspire to, because each and every one of us as men, we're created with the drive and the power of God to be able to create and manifest things and do all these wonderful things in the world. But without the blueprint, we're like, what the hell is going on? I got all this power. I don't even know how to use it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what I felt like. I felt like a little kid, angry ass little kid with a lot of power, no direction, no place to direct it. So I had to find myself to, you know, beneficial ways of channeling this energy and being creative with it, you know. And 50 years old, I kid you not, I still struggle with who I am. I constantly have to reaffirm who I am because of, and I attribute it to the lack of that male figure. I look at men. I look at my man. His dad just came home from prison, and I watched their relationship after all that gap, and watch the void, but see the beauty of how they're bonding with one another just because the love is there.
Right.
You know what I mean? This man was incarcerated for X amount of years for whatever, but in regards to him needing his dad, that never went away. And when his dad came home, his dad jumped right into position like he never missed a beat. And that's a beautiful thing when I see black men do that, you know, with their kids. I see a lot of men raising their kids single-handedly now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of men don't even get credit for that. You know what I mean? Moms are doing amazing jobs. Big up to all the women of the world. Not to knock any of you, but I think men are totally overlooked, underappreciated, especially on Father's Day. I don't know. We probably still getting socks. You know what I mean? So, I don't get nothing right now, so, and it's cool. I'm just grateful to be alive and to be able to be a dad and have that title and have a son that knows what that means and looks up to it and respects that title and calls me that with honor and boldness. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what that even feels like. You know what I mean? So it's weird.
I think that's so that, you know, what you just said, you know, we see ourselves in the men in our lives, right? We're looking for ourselves as
Right.
we look for as people, we look for ourselves in community. We look for the places where we are affirmed. We look for this. This is why people set up and how this is how people choose the community they belong to. People, a sociological phenomenon that people will identify in the spaces where they are validated and where there's right. It's just how it works. It's how human nature works. And certainly, right, like I listen here. My mother is second to God in the Trinity. That's my mom.
Right.
Close, it's a close one too. But even now, myself at the age that I'm at with the kids, I find myself. I remember I was 30, and I remember when I turned 30, and I remember thinking to myself, "Oh my goodness, bro! Like I miss my dad. Not only do I miss my dad, but like I need my dad, right? Like for as grown as I am, I'm not really, you know what I'm saying? For as man, I need a space of men who validate me because that's where I see myself, right?
Yeah.
My mom speaks life to me all the time, my mom, but there is something about as men needing men, right? There's something about as a woman needing a woman, right? There's a certain validation that comes from the people and the spaces wherein you find yourself, right? I think this is where, so I have, like I mentioned to you guys, I work at an all-male public school, and I've been adopted by many of them, and I adopt many of them, and so like we have relationship outside of the building.
Right.
Those like my god babies, and it is my intention to like be for them, and they got dads or whatever, but to speak life to be validation to them because I recognize as a man of my age, not having, sorry, I don't know why people do that, not having my dad, how much I need that from them, from him. And so I think it's super important that even as we navigate our own lives, to finding the well springs and finding the communities where we're spoken into, because we're always going to need to be validated, especially as Black people in a white world. We
Right.
need validation. And I
Yes.
think it's so important for us to find the systems and the communities that pour into us as we pour into ourselves and others. You know, so that thing you just said, it just hit me because I remember literally being, I may have been 31 or something like that, but I remember saying to myself, "Oh my goodness, I need fathers. Like
Right.
I can't do this we're not made to do it by ourselves, but I need elders. I need people to look like me, who speak into me, and who are men who are speaking in them. I need that. We need it. You know what I'm saying? So I find myself like spending a lot of time with my uncles and them now, and just sitting, right, and just being in present, and just
Right.
just,
It's just soaking it up because it's kin to you. Yeah.
you know, that feeds the part of me that my mom can't reach, that my partner can't reach, that my kids can't speak to, right? Like, and we've got to feed ourselves what we need, and that part of us needs those, like you said, you're 50, but still needing that affirmation from men to you. You know, so I just think it's super important to lift that up because it's so real, bro. It's so real.
Yeah, it really is. And it could be traumatic if it's not checked properly. Because, you know what I mean? Even at 50, you can spiral out of control just because you're frustrated now. You know what I mean? Out of sheer frustration. Example, when I think about my business and the structure of it, or where I would want it to be, let's say a multi-billion-dollar company. All right, well, I want my dad to tell me how to help to make that happen. I can't go to the white man because they're gonna do it their way. But me, as a Black man, I'm gonna do things differently because I know the needs of my people and I know how to make things cheaper. And it ain't always about the money. So there's gonna be a whole bunch of different twists and turns on it coming from my company versus somebody else's company. And I want that to be represented in the world. But if I don't have that blueprint on how to make that $1 billion mark, you know what I mean? My son will have it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And I don't even know that my dad has to have, I think of this now. I don't even know that I expect them to have the answers. It just feels good to go to someone who I believe will you know what I'm saying? Like if I don't go to my uncle and think he knows everything, but part of me, I think the boy in me, the son in me, does like there's safety with an elder, right? Like that I ain't got to do it by myself. I feel like somebody got me, and you know what I'm saying. There's safety in that, like, and I don't I don't expect him to have answers. And sometimes his answer, I'm like, well, I don't know if I do that, but I fail, this man got me. If I trug forward, this man got me. And there is something about, as a man, having men who got you. You know what I'm saying? There's something about that bond, being able to be vulnerable with men, that there's a power in that. There's a power in that literally makes us better. You know what I'm saying? And so I hear you.
I think we all need mentors, you know what I mean? And we're mentors obviously to our kids, you know, but we also have to be mentors to other young people, you know, so that way we can just show them the way. You know, so that's, you know, listen, sometimes leadership is thrust upon you, even if you don't want it. You know, like sometimes you have to, you know, like Scott, like you, a lot of the things you was talking about, like your son is 27, but there are other young people that need to hear your story. You know what I mean? Like you're going to lead those other young men that you might not have even met yet. You know what I mean? You're going to tell them, yo, this is what I did when I was a kid. Don't do that. Right? That didn't work for me. And it's the same thing as I tell my sons, right? Like I tell my son all the time, all the things you're thinking about, I've thought about already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've been there, I've done that already. He's starting to feel himself a little bit because he's only 12, but he's like 6 feet already. Right. So You know, he's gonna be tall. You know, so he's already kind of like, I'm getting a little mustache, this and that.
Like girls looking up to him,
So I'm trying to like let him know, like, yo, all of that is well and good, but you want to keep your mental focus too.
Yes.
You know what? Get that out the way, because that's how we kind of tend to stray. You know what I mean? Like we lose our focus, and we
Hmm.
have to we need someone to kind of help us bring back into focus to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish, because all of that other stuff will come later on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely. Will come later on. You know what I mean? And yeah, and I think the world need. Well, that's one of the reasons why I allowed myself just to be transparent today and just be real with whoever this is for, and
Mhm.
not try to be all Mr. Marketing genius. Oh, I'm gonna put this
Mhm.
strategically in the best places to reach this amount of people, and this is where they're gonna be at 8
Mhm.
p.m. and they finished eating breakfast at this time and all that crazy
Mhm.
algorithms for Facebook and YouTube. No, I let truth fall where it falls. Transparency. Like I said, I performed all over the world doing improvisational theater,
Mhm.
and unveiling my truth through domestic violence, just the real ills and the isms of our world. I've allowed the world to see myself on camera for
Mhm.
years. You know what I mean? And this podcast is still just another expression of that. And being able to have you gentlemen on the show tonight definitely has been healing for me in the scope of one, not always feeling so alone in my voice. You know what I mean? Like being able to just be able to talk men talk. You know what I mean? That's why I kick the ladies out. You know what I mean? So, you
Right.
know, because I just want to talk with the men, and there are going to be a lot of men that are going to be able to gravitate and levitate to this show and recognize the things that we're talking about. And like they said, this is only part one because we're just only taking up the veil of this situation and this
Right.
topic, because it really runs deep into our community and the lack of our community. You know what I mean? We talk about community, and to be honest, everybody else has a community but us. We knew
You're
what
right.
community was. How there's only a pocket of us still fighting for community because everybody else is trying to create their own little pockets of it's all about me, 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 me.
Yeah.
And I want you to see me, and it's about me. And so being able to give back is the greatest gift that you can give someone, through knowledge, information, and transparency. If it helps somebody, I'm definitely um, open to assist anyone in anything that I can be honest about regarding my life and the victories that I've achieved because of them. I think you gentlemen and your dads, you know what I mean? Like for real, your dads are amazing individuals despite their story. Because they got it, like that's the other thing. We look at parents like they got it all figured out, but at some point, life was hurting their asses too. It
Right.
was uppercutting them and doing that 1-2 on them, and we're just looking at them like superheroes and like, yo, save me, save me, save me. But it's like, hey, I'm ducking blows here, son. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
bobbing and weaving, but I'm trying to make it look good in front of your moms, in front of you, in front of my community, in front of all these women, in front of myself. You know what I mean? So it's so interesting how this topic runs deep, and we have our lovely Sean with it. What's going on, baby girl?
Hey, I wanted to say, I mean, you all were amazing. And I just wanted to say this, that not only did you shed light as for other men, but you also helped us as women, because many time women, we don't understand, because just like you all were doing this man to man talk, and let us understand, let us know your perspective, where you're coming from, who taught you to be a man or lack of. We sometimes don't know that. And even when we're trying to deal with men, we mishandle men because we don't understand how important it is to help you all and to keep your egos. And I feel so good when I heard you all say how much you love to be made important and some people to see you. And sometimes when you talk about strong black women, we forget that. So I thank you all for being vulnerable. I thank you all for sharing. And I thank you for allowing me to just be a part of the show. Even though I was backstage, it was awesome. It was awesome. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, man.
Thank you.
You know, and it's because of queens like you and passion that allow men like ourselves to have a voice. You know what I mean? To be honest, you know what I mean? Like even with the lack thereof, I give all my mom's was like it was God, then my mom. And there was a struggle in how I saw that because she was my world, and I love my mom. May she rest in peace. She was an amazing example of what people should be in humanity as a whole and as a black queen. You know what I mean? When that word wasn't that popular, you know what I mean? But she showed she held her ground in regards to raising her family, being a sole provider, and doing the best that she can single handedly. So kudos to my moms and kudos to all of you ladies that you and passion and the women that were in you two men's lives that balanced the madness. Because it's madness.
Listen, I don't know who we would be without black women, man, bro.
For real.
I don't know who we would be without black women. I don't want to know. Actually, I don't
know either.
Without black women, I don't.
Oh my goodness. For real. So salute to all the women of the world. Even though we're embarking on Father's Day, we would be remiss if we did not acknowledge women, all the women of the world that bridge the gap in between families and adopt families that aren't even their own, and love on the world as a whole, and intercede in people's lives in ways that men can't. You know, loving on us, making us healthier, and giving us the opportunity to have a voice with our counterparts and be understood and be loved and appreciated is so valuable to us that, you know, words can never express what you do for us in regards to our development with or without fathers. So you are definitely the mothers of the earth, the backbone of who we are with men in our lives or not. And we are so grateful to each and every one of you that continually bridge the gap and be women of the world.
Yeah.
So we love you. We love you, Sean. Where's passion at? Where's our passion?
Well, Passion is here in spirit. As you all know, Passion was having a lot of technical issues. So she has been watching the show. She was telling me how great you all were doing. And she didn't want her internet kept dropping. So she didn't want to come back again and disrupt the show like she did that time where you said there's passion.
Right.
Yeah. So but she really enjoyed the show, and she wanted me to just tell you all thank you for everything. We could not have asked for a better male panel, because although we love what we do, we recognize who we are. We are yet still women. So we can't teach men how to be men, and we can't have men talk. So we are so grateful.
Thank you. Very, very welcome. And we would be remiss if we did not give a shout out to our sponsors. So let's give a quick moment to shout out to our sponsors that allow us to continually pay the bills, and we'll be right back with you after this brief message.
Welcome to Empire Marketing, your one-stop shop for all your online business needs. To the right of me are some of the services we've been providing for the last 20 years. Are you in need for affordable business solutions? Looking to increase your online presence and social awareness? Or maybe want help with driving tons of organic traffic to your website's products and/or services? Then contact our expert team to learn about our various services created to meet your exact needs. Our graphics and marketing professionals have tons of experience in creating eye-catching logos and branding materials. In addition, we create professional interactive ebooks and ebook covers for Amazon or self-publishing. Have you ever thought about creating your own online coaching or podcast services, but don't know where to begin? Are you a physical trainer, or a certified coach or therapist? Or maybe you're interested in becoming one? Well, we provide you with quick and affordable solutions to do just that. Our team can build you a solid brand and generate a reoccurring subscriber-based membership website for you and our company that's tailored to your specific practice and/or profession in less than a week. Now you can have your very own professional online video e-learning platform, providing in-depth instructions, tutorials, trainings and online lessons in any profession or niche of your choice, creating you an endless stream of passive, residual income while you sleep. We'll even show you how to attract new high-paying, high-ticket-based clients for your business, without breaking the bank in ad dollars. We specialize in creating attention-grabbing promo materials and video presentations that captivate your audience and viewers, while utilizing cutting-edge technology for marketing and targeting new interested leads, and converting those leads and prospects into paid customers and clientele. Let us prove our devotion to you as we promise to maintain the highest level of quality and commitment. Your satisfaction is our main concern. Contact us now, and let us show you all of the affordable and amazing options we have available for growing your business. You may speak with a live agent by calling us at 717-722-5626. For a complete list of our amazing and affordable services, visit us online at www.empiremarketing.xyz. Let us launch your ideas into empires.
And we are back. Big shout out to our sponsors, Empire Marketing, for your digital needs. It's a one-stop shop. Anything you got going on, trying to level up, got some ideas or just need help building a business, give them a call, shoot an email, visit the website. But back to our gentleman and our queen of the evening. Thank you so much, guys, for tonight's show. It was really, really awesome. I really enjoyed myself, and I pray that we helped anyone that was listening or will view this podcast continue to log on and learn about life, love, and all the above. Because we cover everything that matters under the sun. We're not trying to be a all fluff podcast show that's about ratings and everything. We're trying to really help people and be helped at the same time while we're learning, more and more about people. So thank you guys again. Craig Palmer, DC, you guys were awesome. Like, for real. We look forward. I hope that you guys can come back again and join us for our part 2, because that would be really, really dope. It really, really will. So let us know, you know what I mean? I don't want to put you on the spot right now, but the ladies already, you know what I mean? If you're available in the next 2 weeks, we can do part 2 of this and go for a deep dive into who we are and the support that we need from women to really be the best that we can be as Black men.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Like I said,
All right,
anytime.
I heard yes. Now, don't you say nothing, Abel, because they both said yes. I heard yes. So next, in 2 weeks, they will be back. I heard yes from both, didn't I? Yes, I did.
Cool.
I received it.
All right. Well, have a good night, and thank you for having me.
Okay.
Tell everyone where they can find you guys, and any relevant information that you want them to know about you, and you got any products you want to sell. This is your opportunity. Feel free to shoot your shot.
Well, you can find me at successessentialslearning.com, and this is my book. So this is the book that teaches everybody about career development. So you can pick that up on the website, successessentialslearning.com. So by all means, I assure you, if you have any questions about employment, how to answer a difficult interview question, what type of jobs should you be looking for, what type of hustles out there that you can make money easily, this has it all. All right. So here, I'll just put it so that you can see. That's my name. And like I said, successessentialslearning.com. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Craig. And we will definitely promote that and talk more with you afterwards regarding your book and helping you get that out there. DC, talk to us, baby.
Hey, listen, man, it's been a pleasure to be here with you all this evening. You guys can find me on I'm social media for me is probably the best way. So on Instagram is Get Cozy, GETCOSEY. If you want, I just don't have a copy of my book, but it looks like that. It's called Blindfolded by Dwayne Cozy. Blindfolded. It's found everywhere books are sold. But yeah, the best way to get in touch with me, man, Get Cozy, GETCOSEY on Instagram. I would love for you to just be a part of what we're doing in life, just making the world a little better place. Appreciate you all.
All right.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And any words for us tonight, our queen for the evening?
No, I say let's take us on out, Abel, because everything that was needed to be done has been done. Job well done, and I'm excited for the feedback.
Awesome. Peace and blessings to you all out there. Continue to get your hustle on. Continue to make your money. Continue to empower people of any color, nationality, creed, or anything. Just continue to shed love and light on the world. We are seeing amazing things happen through people stepping up and just loving on one another in the smallest of pockets of life. Despite the wars and the pandemics and all the different things, we love you and have a blessed evening and an awesome weekend.
You
Peace and
too.
we're out.